Hello, hope all is well, and today we're going to be looking at something pretty cool, which is the MXR Rockman pedal. So first off, a huge thanks to Algam Benelux for sponsoring this video, as they kindly sent this over to me to check out for a review and a demo. As such, I've clicked the sponsored checkbox, but any thoughts and opinions on the pedal itself will of course be my own. So this pedal is based on the Rockman unit, or it's like a headphone amp that was available in the 80s that gave you a bunch of different sounds so that you could jam out to different tracks and have a good to go, ready-made kind of sound that you could easily use by just plugging your guitar straight into a unit and then plugging your headphones into it. Sort of like a headphone amp with a couple of settings on there which were like clean. I think there was like an edge kind of mode, which was a subtle kind of distortion or overdrive kind of thing, and then a heavier distorted sound. Combine this with a nice chorus as well, and I believe the original units also had a kind of echo verb that was in there as well, which the pedal does not have. So the unit itself is extremely simple. I mean, we have two sliders in the middle, a button to change the different modes that we want to be in, and then a separate button for chorus. And the thing about the two sliders is that you have the one slider for the volume or output volume, and then you have another slider for input gain or gain on the different modes. And so on the cleaner modes, it will actually basically dictate the amount of compression that you'll be adding to the signal, or the signal of the guitar going into the unit. And then on the more distorted settings, it'll be the amount of gain that's on the actual unit itself. Now, something about this unit is that you can run this straight to desk, as it were, or like straight into your interface. And I'll be looking at two different ways of running it, just to give you some idea of the sort of tones that you can get out of this. So in this first example, I'll be running this pedal into my Vox AC10, which is set pretty clean, or how I'd usually set it up for using pedals, like a pedal platform. And then I'll show you the sort of tones you can get out should you use this pedal into sort of a cleanish amp. Now for me at least, when going into a tube amp with the MXR pedal, on the gainier settings, you really have to pull down the volume so that you're not pushing the front end too much, as when you're doing that, sort of like when you're using a boost pedal, it kind of breaks up a bit too much, and it doesn't really work as well, I think, as when you're using this direct to desk, which we'll look at shortly. However, one cool thing is the clean mode, so clean one mode, with or without the chorus, as you've got this nice kind of slightly boosted signal should you choose to do that. And then you can level in the amount of compression that you actually want on your signal. And it's sort of like a one-stop shop to get those kind of like 80s chorus clean sounds, be it say Metallica's maybe a good example or reference there, and many other bands that use that chorus kind of clean sound, kind of like a Roland Jazz JC120, but using a pedal to get that in front of say a clean channel on your amp. So I'm now plugged with the MXR straight into my interface, so you're going to get an idea of the sounds when using this in a direct fashion. So kind of like if you were either plugging straight into, you know, the front house desk, or going through a PA or a full range cab or a sound system, something like that. So I have some idea of what this thing can really do in really copying those 80s style tones. So there you go. There's the MXR Rockman X100. I really think, for me at least, it has sort of two really good use cases. If you are going to be using this into a tube amp, it can be a really good kind of like instant 80s compressed chorus clean in the in the clean one mode over here with the chorus on. And as an example, Zakk Wylde has been using this pedal for all the kind of clean chorus kind of parts in the recent Pantera live shows. And for me, where this really kind of excels are for those direct tones. So using this either direct into an interface or direct to desk, front of house, that kind of setup, as you instantly get those kind of 80s tones. I did find that perhaps Clean 2 wasn't really my thing, and my favorite two modes were perhaps Clean 1 and then the two sort of distortion sounds. The lead sound, particularly with the chorus on, is a lot of fun to play through. Now I will note that it also has a control input here, so you can use a separate controller to switch through the different modes, so you don't have to do it by yourself. And it also has TRS output capability, so you can actually output this pedal in stereo. And MXR also have an extra accessory that you can buy called the split and tap, so that you can connect the output via TRS into it and then go out into stereo, and then also connect the tap side into the control feature so that you can cycle through or switch through the different modes on the actual pedal itself. I will say, however, it's still quite limited in that it's like a fixed EQ, so it can be really heard on the more drive sounds, and it definitely works in the direct setting, but as soon as you use it in front of a tube amp, that's where it doesn't seem to work quite as well, because you don't have control over the sort of EQ and it can get quite noisy. However, the clean section, or the clean one in this case, works really well as kind of like an instant compressed 80s style clean, say on your pedal board going into a clean sort of amp. So there you go. I hope you got something out of that, and if you did, I'd really appreciate either a like, comment, or even a subscribe, as it really helps the channel out. In any case, I hope to see you in the next video. Take care.